and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we are back with another Friday episode for you guys, the first of the season, and you know what that means. That means we are now officially underway in the NFL season for 2023. We had a fantastic football game last night in Kansas City with the Detroit Lions coming out on top. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit and then give you our best starts and sits for the week, or perhaps some studs and duds. That's right. We are back with some studs and duds for week one of the NFL season. First things first, Wes, how's it going?
Oh my gosh, am I doing great. I watched a real football game on Thursday. How about that? And it was a good one. And it got off a little bit to a slow start. I felt kind of shaking off some of the nerves and the rust, but then it picked up and my heart was racing. And real quick, just shout out to our trollers in the Trollers League. You certainly listen to our podcast. Thank you. Our teams are not very good because you took all the good players. So thank you for paying attention to everything that we say. I hope I make playoffs. How are you, Noah?
My team sucks in the Trollers League, which is the most flattering thing because it does mean you guys listen. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm great, man. I too watched a football game. I don't know if it was the same one as you watched.
I have good faith.
I think there probably was, yeah. Because I watched an awesome football game. I thought it was fantastic. Such a great way to open up the season. When we heard Travis Kelce wasn't going to be playing, I was really worried. I was like, oh, man. I was like, don't give us just like a boring game. Come on, still make it a good one. And it was a shootout. And it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time watching it. Got some good insight on some players to come here later in the episode. But we're back. We're back with football, and it is exciting. And Wes, we're so back with football that, depending on when people are listening to this, you and I may be together at that point. I fly out to Los Angeles tonight to go to the Dolphins-Chargers game, season opener at SoFi. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're right on the 50-yard line. Hey, if any listeners are going to be at that game for any reason, on the off chance you are, let us know. Shoot us a DM. We'll meet up with you. It'll be a fun time. But we're back into football season. It's going to be a great show for you guys. Today, we're going to do a little bit of Travis Kelce talk because how can you not talk about the GOAT tight end? And just going to break that down a little bit for you guys. Before we get into that, though, while you're here, follow us on all our social media below. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Comment what you thought of Thursday Night Football. Let us know. And before we jump into some news, we're going to get a word from our sponsor. This show is sponsored by FQ Media Group. FQ is a media production company specializing in podcast production that empowers others to share their voice with their audience. For more information, check out fqmediagroup.com. And now that we have done that, Wes, jump into the news because we got some things to talk about before we break down Thursday Night Football.
Let's just start with Travis Kelce and what the current update is as of right now, which is that the official status is that he hyperextended his knee on Tuesday's practice, was ruled out a couple hours before Thursday Night Football. The Chiefs are optimistic, though, that he'll be in line to play week 2. Obviously, they will not rush him. Obviously, they need him, my goodness. But he's still optimistic, so for those that did take that risk and drafted a tight end in the first round, don't be too concerned. He's still going to play. All of his ligaments are intact. You know whose ligaments may not be intact totally? That's Cooper Kupp, who is officially ruled out for week 1 and could be on the IR. There's some rumors that there are some frayed nerves. I won't say whether or not that's true. We don't know, but people are trying to figure out whether he's even going to play at all. If you haven't listened to it, go check out our YouTube video of us breaking down Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp and how we stand. Holy. Anyway.
Just alluding to a potentially partially torn hamstring.
Yeah.
No big deal, guys. You might go into IR. Who knows? Whatever.
I feel so bad for the Rams. The Colts announced that Zach Moss is officially going to be the RB1 on the depth chart when he is healthy. He's going to miss this week, but he's likely going to miss this week. He could be back week 2, week 3, and it'll be a tandem with Deion Jackson, who will very likely start this Sunday. And they've also confirmed that their rookie wide receiver, Josh Downs, I love that guy, is going to be the wide receiver 3, so he'll be starting. I don't expect too much from the rookie, but it's fun to know for those that do have a deep 12-14 team league. Joe Burrow, I think like on the second drive of Thursday night, we got the notification that Joe Burrow got the bag. 5-year, $275 million contract with $219 million guaranteed, the highest paid player in NFL history. I am looking forward to seeing how he and Jamar Chase play week 1 with that kind of a check in his bank account. Dalvin Cook fully participated in practice, and now that he is fully healed from his shoulder surgery, he is going to be a full go for Monday night with the Buffalo Bills. Breece Hall will also be ready to go. Wow, so much to pay attention to for that game. Terry McLaurin is still considered day-to-day with turf toe. He's questionable for week 1. It's looking optimistic. He was a full participant, I believe, on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty miraculous. I was very surprised to see a full participation.
Because turf toe, I remember years ago, Devontae Adams had turf toe, and he was out for like 6 games, which is the only time in the last like 5 or 6 years he wasn't top 5, or top 3 even. So it's usually a big, long-lasting injury, but he should be good to go. Jackson Smith-Njigba fully recovered from his wrist surgery, and he will be ready to go versus the Rams as well. Romeo Doubs returned to practice from his hamstring injury Thursday. He returned to practice. Christian Watson was a non-participant. Romeo Doubs seems to have a good connection with Jordan Love. Obviously, Christian Watson did a lot with Rodgers last year, so we'll pay attention to see who's going to be the favorite target over there in Green Bay. And the last piece, hey, those that draft defenses, Nick Bosa signed his contract. The holdout is over. It's going to be $170 million for him. Football is back! That's it for the news. Let's talk about the Lions versus the Chiefs. So much to discuss. We are obviously going to talk about Travis Kelce, but let's go through our must-starts, mid-starts, don't-starts, Noah.
Yeah, well, I think before we jump into much more of the Thursday Night Football breakdown, we got to get one thing out of the way because we got to talk about this. This is going to be what everyone is talking about based off of this game.
Yeah.
Does Kadarius Toney want a career in the NFL? Is
one of the worst games I've seen a single player have. It was so bad. Legitimately, you and I were texting like, just cut him. Here's the thing. He was a my guy for me in the offseason. I was like, oh, let me take a shot on the wide receiver 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the surgery happened, and I was like, all right, I'm out. Let's just see what happens. Hey, very good call, Noah, to say let's not start Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers because one of them hates the NFL. He hates Mahomes. He was like, I won Super Bowl. You don't need any more. I'm done. Sorry. You go on.
No. Tony is just, it was almost, not almost, it was laughable how poorly he was playing in this game. And really I don't want to start the Thursday Night Football recap on a sour note, but like how poorly like almost all of these Chiefs pass catchers were. Like it was just all over the place. And I mean, I think in the first half, Patrick Mahomes had completed 12 passes to 8 different pass catchers. It was just, and that is exactly why we said, don't start any of these guys. You don't know who it's going to be. I had somebody in a dynasty league that I was playing in be like, oh man, should have started Rashee Rice. And I'm like, what? Why? Yes, I get, no. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no plausible reason for you to have done that. All these pass catchers are all over the place. We are, cautiously optimistic with the Chiefs that Travis Kelce will be back next week, because I'll say it. I mean, the Lions played a fantastic game. Lions defense did very good, but my goodness, hard for me to believe the Chiefs lose that game if Travis Kelce's playing, just based off the amount of crucial drops that were committed in this game. I mean, I think Sky Moore ran 27 routes and didn't have a single catch. I don't know how many targets he ended up with.
Three
targets. I mean, so I guess not much to go off of there, but there were a few that it was just like, man, this is just kind of ridiculous. I mean, shout out Marquez Valdez-Scantling for making probably the catch of the game.
Honestly.
These Chiefs pass catchers, we hope you listened, and we hope you didn't start them, because this was just a bloodbath and not a fun kind. I don't know if there is a fun kind of bloodbath. I don't know. Nothing positive really to take away. I mean, listen, if you're looking already for a waiver wire pickup and you want to hedge your bets here, maybe Rashee Rice. Maybe Rashee Rice has a good connection there. To me, it kind of felt like Rashee Rice maybe played into the game well with Mahomes, as Mahomes was improvising. Rashee Rice found a way to get himself into some open space, which is great for a receiver to do. But this is just the highest pass catcher had 11.6 points. It was Rashee Rice. So I don't know how much we're taking away from this.
Without Travis Kelce, this team looks beatable. Their offense looks vulnerable. Their offensive line didn't look that great. There was this lineman, number 74, that was like false starting the entire game, which was very funny to me.
Only one call, as far as I know. The crucial call on the fourth and 20
to extend it.
Only one call I saw. I mean, you got to credit Aiden Hutchinson on that a little bit, because that tackle was just trying to get a little bit of an edge on Hutchinson.
Yeah.
There, Hutchinson was all over Mahomes pretty much of the game. I don't know how many sacks he ended up with, if he didn't even end up with a sack, because Mahomes somehow gets rid of that football pretty quickly. But
maybe one sack total.
Hutchinson had some pressure there, but this Chiefs team is. Listen, I don't want to overreact. The Lions are good. It's not like the Texans came in and beat them, and it's week 1. But they got to get Travis Kelce back on this team. And listen, they'll get back on track. I mean, the Lions are a good team. The Lions, fun fact, Vegas sportsbooks, Wes, the top 3 teams in the NFC, probably by most people's saying or calling, would be Eagles, 49ers, and maybe the Cowboys. Maybe those are the top 3. Right. Vegas sportsbooks have the Detroit Lions as number 4 to win the conference, to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. So this team is good.
Wow.
This team is good, but let's not overreact on the Chiefs. I think when they get Kelce back, we'll see a little bit of maybe even a lot of a difference here. The impact that Travis Kelce has, not just being able to catch the football, but where the defense needs to look and where other guys could get free and open up space. Yeah. It can't go unstated. So we'll have to see, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just tie a bow on it, because those are our don't starts. We're all the Chiefs wide receivers. Then we'll go to our other starts that we mentioned, because if anything, we were going to try to learn who was Mahomes' favorite target, especially without Kelce, and the answer is nobody. Yeah. I mean, the most anybody saw was 5 targets, and that's nothing to start. Nobody wants to start a receiver that only gets 5 targets. Right. Yeah. It's and people were rushing to go get Noah Gray, because they thought he was going to be the tight end that was going to
succeed. And then he doesn't even catch the touchdown.
No, it was Blake Bell, of course.
Blake Bell catches the touchdown.
Obviously, don't you even watch Fourth and Troll? Yeah. We've been talking about him all offseason.
I had some coworkers today come to me and be like, hey, I got Kelce. I went and picked up Noah Gray. I mean, and I was like, I don't think you should do that. I don't know if that should be the case. I mean, I just explained, I just said, listen, Kelce and Mahomes have the connection. it's not like a Kelsey goes to the tight end thing. Like it was like there were a combined 5 catches between all the tight ends, and it's just I hope you weren't just quick to have Noah Gray be a replacement there. But those are don't starts. We hope you listen on that. And we hope you if you didn't and you took your shot, we hope it was on Rashee Rice, because that would be the one person you took your shot on. So I want to talk about one more Kansas City Chief real quick in this little bit where we're reviewing kind of what we talked about on Tuesday.
Sure.
Because I said you can get a little bit risky with Isaiah Pacheco. And if you did, listen, I don't think you're too upset, okay? 9.4 points is not a bad day for a flex play. My projection for him was, I think he gets you 12 or 13 points, and he came about 3 or 4 yards shy of getting into the end zone at one point, and I was really hoping. I was like, oh, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Get in there, and they would have hit that for sure. But listen, I think if you played Isaiah Pacheco, you were in a situation where you needed somebody to fill in that could do a decent job for you, is what I talked about. And 9.4 points, I don't think is a disappointment or anything like that. I don't know. Wes, what do you think?
And no, I totally agree, especially when you look at the way that Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire were used, because the first quarter, it was like, oh my gosh, how many more running backs are going to get in the backfield? Right. And then it was almost exclusively Pacheco. We don't have the snap percentage and snap counts just yet, but Pacheco was on the field for majority of the game, 3/4 of the game. Edwards-Helaire had a little bit in the fourth quarter, which was strange. And I was reading.
It was very early too. It was like the first drive. I was like, okay,
very
that was
early,
Clyde
very
in the first
end.
play, and then it was like, okay, that was Clyde. Okay, we haven't seen Pacheco on this drive yet. Like, what? Hang on, are we all dumb? Like, should we have all drafted Clyde? Is that what's going to happen here? No, it's not. Pacheco is their RB1 for sure, but this did show us, at least in my opinion, Wes, that this is a true committee. Everyone is going to have a small role. If I were ranking the committee, it would be kind of how probably you drafted these guys. It would be Pacheco, McKinnon, and then Clyde.
Absolutely.
But that's I don't know. That's my thoughts on it.
I was reading in Kansas City camp that some people were speculating Clyde Edwards-Helaire could have been cut. Like that's how low he is on the totem pole. So don't mistake any of this tandem as Clyde Edwards-Helaire has any significance, save for some significant injuries. It's Pacheco. If you're going to start a Chiefs running back, it should only be Pacheco, and he should only be a flex.
Yeah,
at least right now. He only had 23 rushing yards, but he still was just shy of 10 points because of the PPR game.
Right, yeah. Really good PPR value there. And hey, that could be attributed to Kelsey being gone. He needed to look somewhere else, something like that. But it's clear that he is going to be their top rusher. The Chiefs weren't in a situation for much of this game in which they were trying to run the ball out. They were, and it felt like when they were, Pacheco was getting the ball. Pacheco was getting the ball when they were, they were up 17-14 at one point, and it was kind of like, okay, we're going to slow this down a little bit. Pacheco was getting work there. He was getting that majority. He was on the field for most of that time. So he does seem to be the guy who is going to be in those situations for the Chiefs. They just weren't in those situations very often tonight. And so I think Pacheco still is, honestly, I think Pacheco truly can be a really decent flex play. Maybe not every week, maybe just if you're in a situation where you really need it, or if you're in a deeper league, like Pacheco could be a really good flex play for you. So Isaiah Pacheco is somebody that I'm a little bit interested in, and if maybe I don't know, stay tuned for the next couple of weeks. Maybe we'll see how this goes and it plays out whenever Kelsey's back. But he may be someone, maybe a little trade target, depending on if he has a couple games of dips and stuff like that. We'll have to see. I don't know. A decent risky start.
I would say a decent risky start as well, especially if you are taking the risk because Kelsey was out. I understand, because I think that's an excellent point that you were just making. This is without Kelsey. So really we're going to see, I would say week 3, because let's just err on the side of caution that they're going to double check that Kelsey's fully ready to go before. Who knows? They have extra days to get ready than usual. excuse me, was just fact checking to see how Pacheco did in the regular season. He did surpass 100 yards rushing. That was in week 11 last year. That's his only 100-yard rushing game. So it is possible. He had 830 total. He didn't really start until about week 6. But I would say that Pacheco is still worth playing. He's still worth starting. He's still, it depends on your lineup, but I'm not discouraged by Pacheco. I think there's an opportunity. And I think the point that you made, and then we'll move on to our must start here. Oh, we have one more risky start to talk about. I'm very excited about.
Something we got to talk about.
Pacheco is likely to do better when the Chiefs do better, and they will do better when Travis Kelce is back. So I think that's a very good point, is that this is probably not going to be the way the Chiefs perform. Probably. I think this is what we thought the Chiefs were going to look like last year when Tyreek Hill left. But you take away Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, this is what the team looks like. Mahomes is the greatest of all time. How did they still get 20 points when Kadarius Toney was literally trying to play for the Lions on Thursday night? So when the offense has more margin between points, I think Pacheco will be able to get into that 70-plus rushing yards for the game.
Yeah, just I want to mention one thing and then we'll move on. Truly, Kadarius Toney, genuine. When we break down the score, Kadarius Toney lost the Chiefs this football game. I know it doesn't come down to one play, but Mahomes is hitting Toney on that crossing route, and he just bounces right off of him, and then the Lions take it back for a pick 6. Yeah, but the Lions take it back for a pick 6, and it's like, well, Toney, if you catch that ball, I mean, maybe that happens. If he catches it that play, maybe that happens the very next play. Obviously, we don't know what happens. It's a what-if game. But if he catches that ball, maybe the Chiefs come out on top of this, and they're 1-0 to start the season. It just depends. You know, it's try again next week. It's going to be a
long week. Long week for Kadarius Toney. And I know that sometimes we see in fantasy stuff where it's like how many people have dropped a player. Like 43,000 people are going to drop Kadarius Toney. You're just going to see that this morning.
The sleeper trend is just going to be boom. It's just going to plummet. Yeah, it's going to be terrible.
Poor guy.
Let's talk about, Wes, your risky start, because it's a guy that both of us had to play actually on one or two of our teams. Sam Laporta. And man, 8.9 fantasy points, 5 catches on 5 targets, caught every ball he was thrown. Not all of them were perfectly accurate either. He made some impressive catches, some good adjustments, and he was there for Jared Goff when Jared Goff really needed to get the ball out, which I think is important, that Jared Goff has garnered this trust with Sam Laporta already.
Absolutely.
8.9 fantasy points when you're in a situation where you just need it. Listen, I have Kelce on a dynasty team, and I was like, well, let's get it, rookie. You're rolling out there. Week 1, start it up. Let's go. And 5 catches on 5 targets for 39 is pretty awesome. What do you think about Laporta's rookie debut performance?
I'm bummed we missed out on our first mark my words that we got to see play out, that he did not get a touchdown. But I think this is such a great sign of things to come. I understand why he wasn't leaned on a little bit more in the fourth quarter. That will happen because they also didn't lean on Jahmyr Gibbs too much in the fourth quarter.
Right.
He had a Jahmyr Gibbs had a ridiculous run in the fourth quarter that I think was part of the push to get them past the get that last touchdown that Montgomery punched in to get the lead. But they leaned on David Montgomery the most. And I think that's because they wanted to just trust on the veteranship of a player like Montgomery, who's been in the league for a very long time, knows about the situation against the defending world champions. It's not likely you're going to lean on a rookie to go on a 2-minute game-winning drive or another rookie. So this doesn't concern me that he didn't have a touchdown. He will. He absolutely will be a top. I think it's totally doable that he's going to be a top 10 tight end with the way that this game starts out. Week 1 against the Chiefs, 5 catches, 5 targets. I'm very excited for Sam Laporta, and depending on your tight end situation, you might be willing to trade the tight end you drafted initially to start. Who knows? Who knows how good Laporta will end up being?
Yeah, really, really encouraging signs. And, we think about it, and it's something that, Wes, you kind of mentioned it in our final mock draft episode. You said, we're not going super deep here. We're not going farther into our own 15 and 16 and stuff like that. But you mentioned Sam Laporta is a guy that you were interested in. You put your money where your mouth is, and I think it paid off. I want to read you out a tweet that I saw from Nathan Janke of Pro Football Focus, PFF. This was, he noted out, week 1 receptions by all rookie tight ends combined by season. In 2020, in week 1, all rookies combined had 2 receptions. In 2021, all rookie tight ends combined had 5 receptions in week 1. In 2022, all rookie tight ends combined had 2 receptions in week 1. And in 2023, all rookie tight ends combined in week 1 have had 5 receptions so far. And there's been 1 that's played. Listen, Laporta could be that dude. His 5 receptions that he had tonight were the most by a rookie tight end in his debut since TJ Hawkinson back in 2019 for the Detroit Lions. So I think Sam Laporta is going to be a really special guy, and I think he could be. He could be. Listen. He could be the one that breaks into that top 10. Listen, 8.9 fantasy points could be tight end 2 on the week, just behind Blake Bell with 9.2 fantasy points. So you never know what's going to happen. I'm willing to say it's not going to be, because I'll tell you in a little bit who's actually going to be the tight end 1 this week.
There you go. I was going to push for that. Brilliant.
And you alluded to it a little bit, Wes, but our must start together, we doubled down on it, was Jahmyr Gibbs. And listen, 8 fantasy points isn't what we wanted tonight. We wanted an explosion from Jahmyr Gibbs. I want to give some credit to the Chiefs defense because they held the Lions offense to 14 points. The Lions had 21. We just talked about it. One of them was the pick 6. The dude looks awesome. He had only 9 opportunities, but he had 42 rushing yards on 7 rushes. That's 6 yards per carry, opposed to David Montgomery's like 3.5 yards per carry. Jahmyr Gibbs looked so much better as a runner, in my opinion. There was a report that came out on Wednesday that was saying the Lions may limit Jahmyr Gibbs' workload in week 1. They just want to, they may not give him the full workload right away. If 6 yards per carry and that efficiency is not the full workload, I'm very excited to see what is, because I think this guy is going to be freaking awesome. I think he's going to be really special. They use him in really good ways. 2 catches out of the backfield. He had a little sweep that he came around on and got the ball on. Some outside zone runs that he just looked really, really good. Hang tight. I know Jahmyr Gibbs owners are not stoked with what this performance was. 8 points is not exactly what you're hoping for, but Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a really special player this year. And I'm not too worried about this. So any
not at all.
Closing remarks?
Other than it's an opportunity to try to make a trade for the scared Jahmyr Gibbs owners. Yeah,
if
for those that are
already
worried. Yeah, take a shot, make a big move, try to get Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, this is something that we've talked about before. David Montgomery will likely continue to vulture touchdowns. He will likely still be part of the goal line work. And I don't anticipate David Montgomery not doing this again. I think he can do this. I think it's possible that he also has 10 or 15 carries in a game while Jahmyr Gibbs is the official starter. I think it's going to be a tandem. So what I learned from Thursday night is Montgomery is actually going to be a decent flex play. That is all I learned. I did not learn anything about Jahmyr Gibbs not being the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft. I did not learn that he is not worth your 3rd or 4th pick in the draft in fantasy. It just wasn't the starting game. So you may lose this week because of Gibbs' underwhelming performance, but keep him because you are going to get that amazing upside. And he got 2 targets already, which was not bad. I'll take that. 2 targets, 18 yards. It's going to be there. Hang tight on Gibbs.
Yeah. 2 targets for Jahmyr Gibbs, 0 work in the passing game for David Montgomery. So when they are passing the football, and they're in a passing back situation. Jahmyr Gibbs will be the guy on the field. David Montgomery, 21 carries. I'll say this. He's the guy. Like I think he is going to. It's probably gonna be a 1A and a 1B, but he is the 1A. Like he is the 1A on this team. If tonight is telling us anything, the David Montgomery move was one of our first episodes for the season. Was my favorite move of the offseason. He had the second most expensive running back free agent contract this year. They brought him in for a reason. And I think I think they're really going to use this guy. I think I watched tonight's game and I went, man, I think I should have maybe drafted a little bit more of David Montgomery in some of my leagues. I think he's going to have a legit role. I think, like you just said, I think he can be a weekly flex play. Truly, I think if he's getting he got 21 carries tonight. Again, listen, they're playing the Chiefs. They want to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So maybe it's a little bit of a different scheme. Maybe it's a little different here. But 21 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown, that's pretty great. I think by the end of week 1, David Montgomery will probably be inside the top 10 for rushing yards in the league. And listen, we saw it in Chicago. Totally he was consistently like a top 20-ish running back. I think they can definitely get there again. If tonight is telling us anything, I think Montgomery could be pretty solid. Listen, just a couple more people we want to talk about. Mahomes, 19.5 fantasy points. I'll be honest, you probably just saw his worst game of the season for fantasy. So
absolutely,
Mahomes owners, don't be worried. If you drafted him in the second round, whatever you did, don't be worried. Listen, this is probably his worst game. This is the floor for him. Get Kelsey back in there. We'll see what else happens. Jared Goff had 14 fantasy points, but Jared Goff ran that offense well. Goff ran that offense very well. It's clear that he is a leader of that obviously he's a quarterback, but it's, there's Kyler Murrays in the world who are quarterbacks, but they're not really leaders of their offense. Jared Goff is the leader of that offense. Sorry, a little jab there. Sorry, Kyler.
Not even doing anything. He's playing Call of Duty. Leave him alone, dude.
I know. Sorry, dude. My bad. Listen, Jared Goff ran the offense fairly well. Obviously, they won the football game. Amon-Ra St. Brown was awesome. 19 fantasy points. 6 catches on 9 targets for 71 yards and the touchdown. Gotta love to see that. A guy that's interesting, especially for the next 5 weeks now, is going to be Josh Reynolds. He's somebody that I might be thinking about with this waiver wire when it comes back around on Tuesday's episode when we're talking. He might be a guy that I'm thinking of a little bit. 7 targets is something that is worth noting whenever you are looking at, Wes, what the stat you were talked about was wide receivers. It's a famous stat. Wide receivers with 4 or 5 or less targets, 5 or less targets.
4 or fewer targets have a 9% chance to make the top 20. Right. And that's from just kind of the general bona fide drafted players across like the entire wide receiver pool. It's like 0.09, but just think of it as a 9% chance. Josh Reynolds is not part of that equation. He, with his 7 targets, he's still eligible to be top 20.
Josh Reynolds is a guy I think is worth keeping an eye on for the waiver wire whenever you're coming around after this week. But it makes me a little excited for the potential of Jameson Williams whenever he comes back. That Josh Reynolds got 7 targets against the world champion Kansas City Chiefs.
And a
Jameson
big
Williams
play.
Is pretty cool, man. Yeah, big play. Yeah.
Big play for Reynolds.
The third down conversion was crazy. Yeah, pretty nuts. Listen, Thursday Night Football is awesome, you guys. I'm so glad that we are back into the season. We've got some fun stuff to look forward to. And listen, week 1 isn't won or loss on season opener on Thursday Night Football. Okay, listen, there's plenty of football to be played. If you had Jahmyr Gibbs, if you were on the Noah Gray train, whatever it was, listen, hold on, because anything can happen in fantasy, and we're going to tell you some players here that we think can be some difference makers in your lineup for the better and for the worse. We're going to talk about our studs and duds for week 1. I'm so excited to talk studs and duds, dude. It's been so long since we've done this. It's so exciting. Listen, studs and duds is our version of, a widely understood in the fantasy community segment of start, sit, love, hate. We got studs and duds. We got studs and duds here on Fourth and Troll Fantasy because we're the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. And,
amen.
Studs and duds. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's laugh it up, Haha. Listen. Studs and duds is all about players that we think are going to exceed expectations and people that are going to disappoint on their projections. It is players that we think are going to, oh my goodness, how are they projected 10 points? And whoa, why are they projected 15? There's no shot that happens. We just want to provide some players here for you guys and some people to think about whenever you are looking at your lineup. We've each got a stud. We've each got a dud. Wes, hit us. Oh, man, this is a great moment. Wes, hit us with your stud for week 1 of the 2023 fantasy football season.
My stud is going to be Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. Can't guard Mike Slant Boy Michael Thomas. So let's just kind of give a little idea of what we're feeling for week 1. There's no more data. There's no more data to look into. There's nothing else we can kind of glean in because it's a fresh new season. We don't know if the Lions are going to go undefeated. We don't know if the Chiefs are actually this bad. We don't know. So we're just kind of taking a shot, looking at what we've learned and making a call of who we're excited about. And these are players that obviously we've mentioned in some way in the past. Now, Noah, you've talked a lot about Michael Thomas being someone that you want in pretty much every single one of your leagues. I have grown into believing this as well. I've started to fall a little bit more for Michael Thomas. I'm starting to think that he is going to be very much involved in Derek Carr's New Orleans Saints offense, which is why I initially presented the headline when we're looking at the training camp headlines. Is Chris Olave overpriced because Michael Thomas is going to be just as involved? Maybe Olave is still that second, third round pick that we all saw, but Michael Thomas, I really do feel, is going to be fused into this offense so well. He's projected around 13, 14 points. Of course, different sites have their own opinions, but I think that can be passed. If he gets one touchdown, he's good to go, I think. We know that if you, on top of your head, I'm kind of put you on the spot here a little bit. No, I didn't mean to, but do you remember generally what his pace was last year, Michael Thomas? What was he on pace to do last year?
Oh, he was on pace. He was on pace for, it was around 900 yards. I don't recall the catches, but he had 3 touchdowns in 3 games.
In like 2 games or something.
It was like 3. It was like a 900 yards, 17 touchdown pace.
Right.
Won't happen. He will not get 17 touchdowns cut to the end of the season when he is the offensive player of the year.
Put that compilation together. I would love that.
Yeah.
But that's the point that I'm making, is that when he and that was with, Jameis. Was Jameis the starter week 1? I should have counted all this.
He played with Jameis. Yeah, he was with Jameis.
Okay, so Jameis is good for wide receivers in fantasy. So is Derek Carr. And I am buying into Michael Thomas. As long as he's healthy, I think Thomas is going to be one of the best steals of the draft. And I'm very excited to see what they do. Not to mention, they're playing the Titans, who last episode I just predicted as one of the worst teams of the season. I think they're going to be so bad that Mike Vrabel is going to be on the hot seat and may not even keep his job. Now, cut to the Titans just dominating 55-0. But I think Michael Thomas is worth starting if you've got no one else that you feel good about for your flex and you have him. Michael Thomas, again, you've been listening to Fourth and Troll. Noah's been talking about him. I believe it too. He's my stud for week 1.
Yeah, I love it. I love Michael Thomas this week. I love Michael Thomas for this season. I think he will. I think he'll come out and do very well against this Titans defense. It's a young secondary. It's not very good. And I think the Saints will probably have their way with the Titans. I think the Saints defense is severely overlooked. And so I think that Michael Thomas is a great stud for week 1. I can easily see him having a 6 for 80 and a touchdown week, which is, that's a 20-point week. I could definitely see that in week 1. I think that's something that he can definitely do. And so I love Michael Thomas. I think it's a great stud for week 1. And I think my stud for week 1 is just a special guy. It's just a special guy, Wes. My stud for week 1, I'm just going to jump into it here. It's Darren Waller. Darren Waller is a guy that I have on the frequency of him on my fantasy teams this year is quite high. He is a guy that I've been targeting in nearly every draft. Wes, in our last draft we did together, you were able to grab him before he got back to me, and I commended you for that because that is a fantastic pick. Darren Waller is going to be extremely special this year, and especially in week 1. Listen, the Giants take on the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys have a good defense. The Cowboys got a good defense, but if Brian Daboll wants to win this game or have a chance at it, he's going to need to get the ball to his playmakers. And Daniel Jones, believe it or not, is good at passing the football in between the numbers. Down the middle of the field, Daniel Jones is a good passer. We've all seen it, and I know his touchdown numbers don't reflect that from last year, but he is a good passer when he's passing down the middle of the field. Just add on to it, too, is that, Darren Waller's a mismatch for even any of the linebackers on this Cowboys defense. Darren Waller is projected 10.4 fantasy points this week. He's blowing past it. I'm calling out for at least 15 fantasy points for Darren Waller this week. He is my week 1 stud. Listen, it may just be hopefulness, but I'm pretty sure it's not because Darren Waller is going to be absolutely special this year. Darren Waller, week 1 stud, 15-plus points. Book it.
Book it. Oh, double book it. I love this as a stud so much. 10 points is hilarious because that is honestly so easy to surpass with a healthy Darren Waller. It's not like it's I don't know why I get that people are out on him because of the injury, but if you just paid attention at all to the Giants camp, I love so much what you said about one of the beat writers where they took Darren Waller out of a couple of drives to force Daniel Jones to throw it to someone else. Sunday night, Giants versus Cowboys is going to be such a Darren Waller show that I'm segueing into my dud, which is Saquon Barkley. And it's not so much that I am out on Saquon Barkley. I just think Darren Waller is going to make that big of an impression that Saquon is not going to get the kind of PPR value that he has for the last several years when healthy. Darren Waller is going to be fantastic. He's going to be fantastic. I will say I'm a little worried still about how this kind of contract dispute went with Barkley. I'm a little worried that they drafted Jalen Hyatt. I'm not worried about Jalen Hyatt as a player or as a fantasy prospect, but I think that there seems to be this general push for the passing game with Daniel Jones. We've been here on Fourth and Troll saying that Daniel Jones is not going to be a top 10 passer, not even top 15. That's not what he's going to do. He made the top 10 last year because of his legs. That's going to transfer over to Saquon Barkley, who's going to try to prove a point. But for this week, you got to imagine that Brian Dable is going to want to play with his new toy, right? And he's going to kid on Christmas like I've got on my wish list is Darren Waller, and I can see that they wrapped it poorly under the tree. I cannot wait to open it Sunday night and show it off to the Cowboys. Darren Waller's a stud, and Saquon Barkley is my dud, really, because I just believe in Waller that much.
Yeah. Mom, what is that 6'5" present wrapped under the tree? What is going on right now? What is happening? It's Darren Waller. Duh. Yeah, no, there you go. Yeah. Brian Dable. Listen, Saquon, he's got a chip on his shoulder. But this Cowboys defense is just very strong. And I think Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs and these linebackers, and not to mention, I believe Stephon Gilmore is on the Cowboys now. Is that? I
Oh,
believe that is the case.
you keep talking. Let me
I
fact
could be
check.
wrong. But we all know the Cowboys defense is very good. And I think this is going to be a very good showing for them. But if Brian Daboll wants an effective offense, he's going to have to get the ball down the field to Darren Waller. I think Saquon, it's not another realm of possibility that he could maybe score, but I think he's not going to reach his projection. So I'm in agreement with you there, Wes. I think Saquon is a fantastic dud candidate for week one. Stephon Gilmore, Dallas Cowboys.
He's a Dallas Cowboy as of this year. Well done.
Okay.
Nice job.
Nice. Nailed it. Crushed it. Anyways, yeah, so those corners are killer as well, which just adds on to maybe CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks don't have that great of a day, but oh, wait, what am I saying?
You silly goose.
I just said CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks because those are the only notable wide receivers at the wide receiver position playing this
right.
Because who is it? Maybe Jalen Hyatt and Sterling Shepard, or
that's
Darius
one more
Slay, or
point.
whoever. Like what?
One more point for why Waller's going to be such a stud. I mean, there's no competition for the targets outside of Saquon Barkley, and I don't think they're going to try to target Saquon as much because that's Micah Parsons' job. Micah's going to be zoned in on Saquon, and Waller's going to be mismatched against everybody else. So that's our Sunday night stud and dud. And your final dud for this episode, go on.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be new Philadelphia Eagles running back DeAndre Swift. He's projected around 11 points. I'm not willing to roll out a running back who on the Eagles official depth chart, did you see this? Is listed.
No, tell me.
The way they listed their running backs, it wasn't a certain depth chart. It was RB1, Kenneth Gainwell / Rashad Penny / DeAndre Swift / Boston Scott. It was just all of them, just all like RB1, four guys right there. Nick Sirianni has lost his mind, dude. I don't know what's going on there. But
what in the world?
This is just this may be the most clear, out front from the get-go of someone going, yeah, this is a committee. And listen, as much as I love to hate on the New England Patriots, the defense is pretty good. The defense has historically been pretty good. I think they have taken a little bit of a step back here, but DeAndre Swift's game is really in the PPR game. I talked about it a little bit last week. I don't really buy in that he's going to be all that effective because he just isn't going to be in the same role that he was with the Lions. The Eagles don't pass the ball to the running backs very much. I know they might be switching up the scheme a little bit, but DeAndre Swift in week one against a really, really solid Patriots defense, I think they're going to look elsewhere. I think they're going to take advantage of a new rookie corner, and they're going to attack in the passing game to those downfield receivers. So DeAndre Swift is a guy that I'm just saying, no, I don't think he even hits projection. Let's take a step back here and let's just wait because it's too early to be confident rolling out DeAndre Swift. He's my week one dud. And maybe for the season, who knows? Whatever. Mark my words. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. Oh,
sacred,
please.
Too
Don't
early.
joke like
Too
that.
Early there.
Sacrilegious. I will say that the only way that DeAndre Swift gets 11 points is if he has like 8 catches for 30 yards. I mean, it's going to be PPR. If anything, he's not going to get even. I wonder if DeAndre Swift will ever get more than 60 yards rushing. I don't know. Yeah. I would take the under on that.
For the season.
If anything, for in all 17 games combined,
3 yards per
Sam
game.
Laporta has more rushing yards than DeAndre Swift. No, Swift, I have a slightly more full glass on the optimism than you on DeAndre Swift. I'm willing to acknowledge that there's water in the glass. That's as far as I'll go. But it's because of the PPR. It's because what we talked about last episode, that they're going to try and they've designed offensive plays to throw the ball specifically to DeAndre Swift. Outside of that, if that does not happen, then it's time to write off DeAndre Swift as an NFL bust. I mean, it's going to be that kind of situation. Now, he could still win a Super Bowl, and then he'll be very happy. But just a reminder that as good as the Patriots defense may be, it's Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devonta
100%.
Smith and Dallas Goedert. So
Yeah.
I don't even know how many teams you need to be in your league for you to start DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
But if there's any sign you were looking for and you clicked on this video or you're subscribed to us, if you aren't, please subscribe. This is the sign not to start DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, just a forewarning of if you're thinking about rolling him out, I would say let's wait. I don't think it's going to be his week. Let's see how this backfield plays out. That's my thoughts. Eagles are going to be a fun team to watch for the backfield purposes, to see how this backfield plays out. So something I'm looking forward to. Probably seeing on the up on the board at SoFi or when they're rolling out Red Zone up there, Wes. I don't know. We're going to be sitting over in our seats fun. And just having a monitor from there or watching on our phones over there, but it's going to be a fun time. Listen, we are back with the NFL season. That is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys for listening. We are so thrilled that we get to do this with you guys, that we get to have fun with you guys, and we get to have a blast. Listen, Godspeed, because it is going to be a wild week one. It's going to be a fun time. Do you think Darren Waller is just going to dominate the same way we do? Listen, is Michael Thomas back? Can't guard Mike still. 4 years later, can't guard Mike. Who knows? We'll have to see. We both think so, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. Let us know what you think in the comments, guys. We're so glad to be able to do this with you guys. It's going to be a fun week. Make Tutty the Troll smile by hitting that subscribe button, ringing that bell. Follow us on all our social medias. Listen, actually, I want to throw one thing in real quick. If you lost Travis Kelce, we put out on our Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it nowadays, whenever that announcement came out, dropped a little tweet, post, whatever. This is just off the cuff, Wes. This is just improvisation right here.
This is fantastic.
My top, waiver wire ads that I think are out there potentially that you could pick up: Jawan Johnson, Jake Ferguson, and I had one more, and I already forgot.
I've got one more.
Go.
Hayden Hurst, your tight end 10.
There it is.
For the Panthers.
Hayden Hurst, Jawan Johnson. Wow, I already forgot the second one I just said. What am I doing here?
Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson. My
you
goodness, I'm all over the place right
Just
now.
wrap
I'm
up
such
the
a silly
show.
guy. I know. I'm so sorry, you guys. Listen, join us on Tuesday for our Week 1 recap. We're going to have a lot of fun recapping Week 1, going crazy about whatever happened, and looking forward to Thursday Night Football for Week 2. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been Fourth and Troll Fantasy. Fourth and Troll Fantasy is a production of Selby Artistic Workshop.